Erdebil is design thinking expert, TED Talk speaker, and also the author of Future Proofing by Design. She has, 25 plus years experience in public and private sector, and we're really happy to have her with us today and to basically talk to us about the secrets, the secrets of design thinking. So, hi Nilufer, how are you doing today?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Good, good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really happy to talk to everybody about deeper clarity, design thinking, and the what and the who. And so maybe a little bit more to give you guys some context of who I am and a little bit more about my experience as well too. We just published a book last year called Future Proofing by Design, Creating Better Services and Teams in the Public Sector Through Design Thinking. It's applicable to both private and public sector. We are based out of Ottawa and have a fantastic team of trainers and facilitators. We've been around for over 13 years now. Personally, I love doing speaking engagements here and around the world. I've had a chance to be able to teach in different countries as well. I'm personally originally from Turkey in Istanbul. My parents immigrated to Canada when I was 8 years old. And so I always love being able to observe people, cultures, values, in order to understand how people work. And I think that comes in really handy with the work that we do right now. And then I have two teenage boys, and in my free time, about 2 years ago, I re-picked up a passion that I had many years ago. And so I am now doing adult competitive figure skating. In terms of my experience, I actually have an undergrad degree in electrical engineering, and I started out doing software development and design many years ago. The first area that I started out in is in defense contracting, and I was helping write some software for military tanks and for NATO AWACS planes. And then from there, I went into networks and network performance management and software for antenna placements on buildings. And so I feel like my technical backgrounds help me understand why looking at things from a human-centered perspective is so important. And for me, what I found is as I worked in high tech and leading edge technologies and amazing companies, sometimes projects got canceled or we weren't able to make the sales that we wanted to make. And then funding was reduced again. And so it was only in working with a partner company, and partner recommended that we bring in customers as we were prototyping and testing, that I realized what the missing ingredient was in all of this. And that was in bringing in the customers to help us understand their needs at a deeper level so that we can make sure that we're delivering the products, services, features, and functionality that they actually wanted and were willing to pay for. And so to start us off, maybe I can ask folks to write in the chat. We have an opening question for you. Do you feel in your current organization that you can improve business requirements gathering process? And so as you're thinking about your organization and the work that the organization does, do you feel that you can improve the business requirements gathering process? I'll give you guys a minute to write in the chat. Yes. Yep. Yes. Yeah. I think everybody feels like there are things that they could change, improve, enhance. And even if you're really good at requirements gathering, there's always room for improving the quality or the quantity, as well as making sure that you're speeding up the process too. And so what we want to do today is we want to go through some key points of being able to understand how to pinpoint and articulate what that initial problem is that we want to solve. What's the intent of the project? Learn how to establish some clear, measurable criteria for success that aligns with the project goals, and discover techniques for identifying and understanding your users to make sure that you're meeting their needs, and explore practical applications of the deeper clarity method to enhance your project scoping process. Now, I mentioned that we published a book last year, and it was intended initially for creating better services and increasing team engagement and better processes. But what we found from the people that were reading it is they started gifting it to colleagues that were in requirements gathering. And it's because it allows people to see who their customers are at a deeper level. And so the goal today is to talk through some of the tools and the mindset for continuously thriving in business through seeing more perspectives and opportunities and focusing on what truly matters through a human-centered perspective using the deeper clarity method. Now, I'm going to go through a lot of material in a short period of time, and we normally have training sessions that we do over 1 day up to 5 days on different topics around deeper clarity and design thinking. But something that I will offer to everyone on this webinar is if you want to connect with me at the end, just send me an email, and I'm happy to do a quick half-hour self-assessment with you to see what areas that you might need some extra enhancements in your work, in your culture, and within the team that you're working in. Because sometimes we're doing aspects of this quite well, and it helps to have someone from an outside perspective to maybe shine a light on what could be enhanced a little bit more too. And so I've been talking a little bit about deeper clarity, and deeper clarity basically encompasses a bunch of different methodologies, and one of them being design thinking. And for those that aren't familiar with design thinking is composed of 5 phases. The first is empathize, understanding who your end users are, and then understanding how they use your current services, products, processes, and policies. And then based on that information, being able to articulate what the key challenges that they're having. And they're usually having many different problems, but it's figuring out which one you want to work on and reframing it, and then coming up with solutions, and then prototyping, and then testing them out with end users. With deeper clarity, we actually put in a step before all of that, because we notice as we work in large organizations that teams need to first align on what they think they're trying to solve. And so what does the team think their initial challenge is? And this is a really important step, because oftentimes when I go into organizations and I ask them what the problem is that they're trying to solve, I usually get a couple of paragraphs, a few minutes of talking, and then I ask people to condense it down into 1 or 2 sentences, and it's really hard. And so spending that time up front, aligning the team on what it is that they want to be doing. And then secondly, what does success look like? What are some measures of success that the team can align on? And this is a really important aspect of deeper clarity that we'll touch on in a second. So it's fascinating to see how highly successful organizations are constantly on the cutting edge of innovation. They're the ones that actually consider the needs of their end users intrinsically, whether it's Procter & Gamble to Netflix to your own organizations probably too, is thinking about the end user at a really deep level. It's part of the processes, it's part of the mindset, it's part of the culture. And so when we're using deeper clarity in organizations, it's that methodology as well as the mindset and different mindsets throughout the project in order to make sure that we're bringing out a new way of thinking and looking at things so that there's more success, there's more impact with the solutions that we're creating. And I think we're all feeling a bit of the crunch of not having enough resources, time, money, people. And so how can we make sure that we're creating a bigger impact with less people? And that's by clarifying on what problem, what challenge it is that we want to be solving. And of course, deeper clarity incorporates the methods and principles of design thinking, along with that start portion of alignment. And then we also bring in strategic foresight and mindset. And strategic foresight is thinking about what possible solutions there might be in the next year, 3 years, 5 years. Because at the end of the day, when we're coming up with our challenges, usually we're actually trying to solve either yesterday's problem or today's problem. What are some nuances that tomorrow or a year or 3 years down the line can bring in? And that clarity of what the problem is that we're looking to solve and aligning on those measures of success really makes it a lot lighter for us. The team is more focused and engaged on the problem with the same understanding of what success looks like. And it allows for shifting and adaptability to look at possible opportunities that you might not have seen before. The way that I describe it to a lot of people is one of the things that I love to do in my free time in the winter is go downhill skiing. And I think of deeper clarity as a way of getting to the top of the hill on a gondola or a chairlift. There's a lot of people that like to hike up the hill and then ski down it. Some people like to take the T-bar or some of the smaller chairlifts. I prefer, if it is possible, to take the gondola straight to the top so that I can focus on what I do best or what I want to be doing, and that's skiing down the hill. And so I think of deeper clarity as doing the same thing for folks in as they're starting out projects, is helping you get to the start of that project faster and in a much more comfortable way, while aligning the team so that you can make sure that the rest of the project is a lot more comfortable and easier to do. So when you guys are thinking about your current team and projects that you're working on, how long does your team take to clarify the project's goals and make sure that everyone on the team understands it? I'll give you guys maybe a minute to think about that. How long does your team take to clarify the project's goals and make sure everyone's on the team is understanding it? And I love doing things interactively. So if you have questions, feel free to pop it into the chat. If you have comments, feel free to put it into the chat, and we can talk about it quite a bit. And we're going to leave 10 minutes at the end for Q&A too. So at any point, put it into the Q&A and the chat, and we'll make sure we get at it. So the question around how long does your team take to clarify the project's goals and make sure everyone on the team understands them? It usually depends on the complexity of the project and the number of people, as well as the culture of the organization. And so that's a lot of factors that come into place, but we can certainly reduce that amount of time. And so when we use deeper clarity, some of the results that we get is that organizations are hitting the targets faster because they were able to also get clarity a lot faster. So I'll give you guys an example. We were working with an organization a few years ago that had a fairly large team, and they'd been together for 6 months, and they were still feeling stuck. They didn't know what the next step was to move the project forward, to really start the project. And I think this happens a lot in complex environments and in large teams too, is there's not really that clarity of what the next step is. And so they'd been spending 6 months together trying to figure out what is involved, what the next steps need to be. And we came in and we provided our deeper clarity and design thinking certification to the team. And within 3 weeks, they were able to understand what was in scope, what was out of scope, and what they needed to do over the next 4 months in order to make sure that they're getting out of this ambiguous state and starting the project right away. And usually what happens is people that as a team have taken our design thinking certification, if they move on to other projects or if they move on to other organizations, they bring us back in at the start of each project because it provides so much clarity and it provides that alignment. It also provides common terminology and language. And so this is super important because even in the same company, even when you have the same culture, the same values, depending on your background and the position that you're in, you think of projects in a slightly different way. And when we bring in deeper clarity and we align on that terminology and the way of looking at things from that end user perspective, then it's a lot easier to understand one another and know that we're going in the same direction. So a few years ago, we were working on a project for bringing in a case management tool. And there was someone from the business side and someone from the IT side. And so as we did some facilitation and training together, they were able to align and understand how to move forward. And I checked in on them a month later to see how things were going. And they had some miscommunication along the way and hadn't gone back to the terminology and the way of thinking that we had initially talked about. And so there was a little bit of conflict happening. So I came in And I think partly because of my technology background, I was able to understand that they're both saying the same things, but because of that lack of focus on that end user, they weren't able to understand one another. And so after 45 minutes, we were able to get back on track and keep going forward, thinking about that end user perspective to bring the two people together, as well as the two parts of the organization, so that they're moving forward all together. And so that doing the training as a team and understand the methodology, tools, and mindset together really helps speed things up at the start. And it also provides clarity on new types of customers that you might not have thought of, that you want to have or are starting to come into your hemisphere. And it really focuses that team on what's really important, and that's creating impact for the end customer. And then sometimes people use this methodology to figure out whether or not projects are ready to move forward. And I know that sounds really funny, but sometimes if you haven't thought about who the end customers are, or what their pain points are, or what you're proposing isn't going to meet the end customer's pain points, then it's probably not a good idea to move forward on the project. And so we actually have a large municipality that has decided to use the deeper clarity method to see whether or not projects are going to get funding. So I think a lot of us can understand the initial problem and the measures of success, but it always helps to come back to something that we live through our personal lives as well too. And for myself, I have had some fun in traveling. And this was a picture of a shower that was at a hotel that I was at probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And it was such an experience that I had to take a picture of this afterwards. So this was actually in Vancouver, and 2 friends and I were there and staying in the same suite. And we'd had a long flight. And so in order to be able to relieve some of my back pain, I thought I'll just grab a shower before dinner. And I hopped into the bathroom, I turned on the water, and then I looked for the thing that I needed to pull, push, twist, turn in order to turn the shower on. And initially I noticed the sign and I laughed to myself. This was the first time that I had seen a sign on a hotel shower. And I thought, oh, well, that's funny. I'm not going to need that. I'll be fine. And so I went in and I started twisting stuff. I started pulling stuff. And then I twisted something off that wasn't supposed to come off. And I twisted it back in. And I decided to look at the sign. And so it says Heavenly Shower, which made me laugh quite a bit right away. And it says, step 1, to activate the Heavenly Shower, turn water on. Not a problem, it's been running for a while. And then step 2 is pull the tub spout in a downward motion. Pull the tub spout in downward motion to activate the shower spray. And so I'm looking at the tub spout and I think of myself as the tub spout is the thing that sticks out of the wall. And I have a sore back, so I start pushing down on it and it's not working. So I bend down and I start pulling on the tub spout and I'm looking at the wall and I don't see any grooves for things to slide in. And so I stand back up and I notice there's more writing at the bottom and it says, for further assistance, call Service Express by dialing 0, which I think is hilarious. Not only do they have written instructions on something as simple as turning on a shower, but they have third line support. And in my head, I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to call up someone. It's going to take them like 10, 15 minutes to come up here. And then they're going to do something simple and I'm going to feel silly. And so I went back and I checked out the diagram and I realized, okay, there's something in there that I can pull down on. And so I put my fingers in and I pulled down on the thing that was inside where the water was running and it turned on the shower, which was really fascinating. And I was laughing throughout the whole process, but it made me realize and think about that end user component of it. First of all, what were the people thinking that had purchased this for the hotel? They were probably thinking aesthetically, it looks really nice and it's kind of cool and it's probably a great price. But what they didn't do was put themselves in that end user perspective. A lot of the people that go into hotels are usually there for one night. They might have come in on a late flight, or in the morning they're rushing to a work meeting. And the last thing they want to do is think about how to turn on the shower. And so I think a lot of the times in organizations, we forget to take on that perspective. First of all, we forget to identify who those end users are. And secondly, to think about things from that end user perspective. Who are the people that are ultimately going to be using it? And also thinking about what would success look like. And so for the hotel shower, success is obviously having people be able to take a shower without even thinking about it. And so as you guys are working on projects, the what and the who, thinking about who are the people that you're trying to create impact for. And for you as a team, what is that challenge you're trying to solve, and what does success look like? And having that conversation about what success looks like is really fascinating, because even when teams have worked together for many years and they're doing a great job, everyone's coming from a place of trying to create a positive impact, it really helps to pause and think about what are the top 2 or 3 measures of success we're trying to hit. And I know we've worked with many different types of teams. There's one that stands out quite a bit. It was a small team of 3 people, and they were super well aligned. They could finish each other's sentences. They'd been working together for many years. And then I asked them to write their measures of success. So one sticky for each measure of success. And so we asked people to write down 3. And for 3 people, we had 8 measures of success. So only 2 people had 1 measure of success in common. So even though this team was working really well together, right from the bat, their understanding of what would make a project successful was really off. And so as we had conversations about those measures of success, we were able to switch around some of the priorities and actually articulate what the top 3 were. Because when you have so many measures of success, it's going to be really hard to hit all of those. And if you haven't had that conversation up front, then expectations are quite different for team members. And then that's not even thinking about the up component of it for senior executives and leadership, is making sure that you're aligning with their goals as well too. So when I think about the deeper clarity method, we have 4 phases to it: the alignment, the connection component of it to better understand the customers, the reframing end users and the challenge based on what we've heard from the end users, and then the experimentation component of it. And we focus a lot more today on the alignment and the connection component of it. When you guys are thinking about your organization or your team, what is your biggest challenge for you or your team? If you guys don't mind writing that in the chat, that would be really great. And then I can have a better idea of how we move forward from that. What is your biggest challenge for you or your team in your organization? As you're thinking about that, what challenges are related to customers and what challenges are related to employees? So when we think about initiatives, most of the time, it's not the technology or the processes, it's actually the people that provide the most challenges. And I think that's why I love doing what we do, is to be able to understand those end user needs. And in business, that's super important for understanding who the customers are. What are their goals? What are their values? What are their challenges? What are their fears? What are their expectations, and what are their measures of success? And understanding it from all of the different types of clients. When we've gone into organizations, I remember going into a glass manufacturing company and speaking with senior executives and the owners. It was a family business, and they felt like they understood the customers really well. In just a matter of 45 minutes, as we started talking about the different types of end users, it became evident that there's a new type of end user that's starting to emerge, a new type of a customer. And because of that conversation, they were able to understand how much bigger that new market was going to be. and that new market needed a different type of salesperson. And they made the decision to move forward on hiring a new salesperson to be able to address that type of a customer and their specific needs. It's funny, a lot of the time, people would think technology is the hardest part of challenges in organizations. And as you get down to it, there's usually a combination of people, process, technology, but as you get further and further into it, it's about the people, whether it's people in the organization, people on the team, or your end customers. And if you're better able to understand the challenges that they have, then it's a lot easier to make sure that your project is going to be more successful and to ensure that your project continues to get funding. I remember a project I did many years ago where it was leading edge technology with multiple partners, and we were able to deliver the technology in 6 months. Now, it took 2.5 years for people to start using it. And it's because we didn't look at things from that end user perspective. And so because it was taking so long, we started to bring in change management, and I learned a lot about change management. But at the end of the day, and I love change management, if you're able to get clarity and understand those end users right from the start, then it reduces the amount of change management that is required. And so making sure that you're looking at things from a people perspective is super important. So why did we create deeper clarity? We were finding that a lot of people fall into the gut assumption trap. And so what's really fascinating about this is that a lot of the time there wasn't enough clarity or alignment about what the challenge is or about the team and what they needed to do. There was a lot of information and people felt overwhelmed by the information. Things are changing so quickly now, especially in the technology realm, socioeconomically, politically, and there's just so much information. So how do you figure out what is really important to focus in on? And we found too that a lot of people weren't taking the time to understand their customers, and they were using past experiences and gut feeling to design new products and services. But because our environment is changing so rapidly, those past experiences might not be as relevant as they had been in the past. And so in order to help people get out of the gut assumption trap, we created the deeper clarity method in order to help them get that clarity, help them understand what's really important, and to be able to move forward in rapidly changing times. Now, we do a lot of work in digital transformation, and there's a huge risk of failure. In fact, according to a 2022 Forbes assessment, the risk of failure in digital transformations was 84%. That's insane. And number one on the list was lack of alignment to business outcomes, lack of awareness within the organization, lack of control over external vendors, resistance for fear of being replaced. These all have to do with people, and these are all things that the deeper clarity method can really help out with. And so what are the different types of initiatives we can apply it to? It's around innovation, and I think a lot of organizations want to be innovative. Some have processes and people in place for that, but if you don't, how can you bring in more innovation into the organization? Increasing customer experience, increasing employee experience, and then, of course, digital transformation. Now, what does this mean in terms of technology organizations? It's opportunities to solve some of the really big challenges that are in play right now. And so sometimes some of the challenges that we're being asked to help out with is creating feedback loops from customers into the R&D roadmaps, and vice versa, from R&D to be able to help salespeople explain the roadmaps to their end customers, helping organizations roll out better requirements gathering tools consistently across the company. And what we find is that some teams are really great at gathering requirements and others aren't. And what's missing there is the consistent methodology and tools for it. We're asked to help with increasing sales through identifying similar or new customers. We're helping out a lot with employee experiences to ensure that the best and brightest stay there and they're engaged and working collaboratively. And this is across technology, it's across construction, it's across public sector. And then the final two is project success. So how can we get projects started quicker and increase the likelihood that they are going to be succeeding? And we get pulled in for culture too. And so whether it's culture within the team, within the organization, sometimes we get pulled in to help out with organizations that have international locations. And so how can we help out with understanding how different cultures behave? And sometimes it's most departments in the same country, in the same location, even, especially with IT, R&D, and the business units, or marketing as well too, is just to help them have that same terminology and have that focus on that end user. So if you think of a project or an initiative you've recently completed, or one that you're currently working on, was it successful? And I think that's a tough question to respond to. And I think it makes a really big difference who you are in the organization as you respond to that, because people have different measures of success. And so in the chat, I heard yes, which is fantastic to hear too. And then the other component of it is, what does project success mean for you or for the organization? And when we ask about what project success means, we get a whole bunch of different answers. Sometimes it's delivering on the intended impact to end users. Sometimes it's customer satisfaction, team unity, or building up the team, learning and new experiences for future revenue, and then on time and on budget. And so as we're thinking through what project success looks like, there's some innovation skills that I think would be really helpful for organizations from deeper clarity, including alignment, that connection to the end user, reframing, and experimentation, so that you're saving time and money and feeling more excitement and confident and successfully achieving your goals. We work a lot with forward-thinking and innovative organizations to help them implement deeper clarity and to be able to future-proof their organizations and their teams through connecting. And we have different ways of doing it. We have training that's available around the deeper clarity method, or you can also become a member of our Deeper Clarity Solutions program, where we go in there and we help you with the alignment, understanding your customers better. We also have audits within the team too, before and after, to see how you've improved, and also to really hone in on the areas that you might need additional help in, so that we're just focusing on that. And then we also have enterprise-wide solutions, so that we can do train the trainer, provide you materials to be able to share within your organization, provide leadership coaching, and also mindset coaching, facilitation, depending on what your organization is looking to have within itself as well too. And most important too is that if you want, you can connect with us. Happy to do a quick assessment with you to see the areas that you might need help in and what solutions might work best for you. So as we're getting near the end here, I'd love to hear any takeaways that you guys have, and also to let you know that we actually have an activity book. So if you like what you've heard, we can send you access to top 10 things that and principles that you can apply in order to make sure that your projects are more successful, whether it's increasing services, enhancing processes, understanding customers better. And the other thing is, if you want a copy of the PowerPoint slide presentation, we can drop a link and send that to you if you're interested in that. My TED Talk is available online if you want to check it out. We have a Deeper Clarity Network on LinkedIn, and that's to make sure that if you have questions, you can ask the LinkedIn group, and we want to create a safe space and community where folks can talk to one another and be able to answer each other's questions, and we'll be hopping in there as well too. And then we also have consulting, coaching, education, training for teams or for organizations, so that they can better align as they move forward on projects, better understand their end users, and think a lot more about the future. And I noticed that Some of the sites are being put into the chat as well too. So if you want to reach out, or if you want to look at some of the LinkedIn connections and watch the TED video, you can follow the links that were in the chat. And then, of course, if you want to look at our book, Future Proofing by Design, it is available on Amazon and most bookstores in North America. And if you want to get a hold of me, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or send me a quick email. And again, if you want to do a quick assessment, super happy to do that with you. I think for the Women in Technology community, as you guys are thinking about the projects that you're starting, looking at things from that end user perspective would be a really great start. But if you want to understand some of the additional methods and tools that you can do to enhance what you're doing so that you're able to ramp up a lot faster and to have a little bit more, a little better experience and a little less pain, then the deeper clarity method and our training is a really great start for you and your team. So that being said, I was doing a lot of talking, so maybe I can open it up for some questions. If folks in the audience have some questions, either about the deeper clarity method or on requirements gathering, feedback loops, customer experience, employee experience, feel free to drop it in the chat or in the Q&A section. As people are writing, there's one question that we get asked a lot, and that is around leadership. And so one of the questions we get asked is, how can we get more support from our leaders to be able to bring in tools and methodologies like deeper clarity? And I think what helps out in a lot of the organizations that we work with is being able to educate leaders on the methodology as well as the mindset. And the best way to convert folks is to showcase the impact. And so if you're looking to start this out in your organization, starting out with a small team really helps out, showing the impact. And then as people see it in action, it's going to be a lot easier to be able to get more support going forward. We also provide training for leaders around deeper clarity so that it can help their leadership style, as well as allow them to understand how to better support people in their organization that are thinking about things from an end user perspective, that are focusing in on project success by investing more time upfront in projects. And then the third way that we find that this can help with getting support from leaders is to actually stop and use some of the tools and techniques to better understand leaders. And so what I found has helped throughout my career too is to understand the leaders that I'm talking to and understand what's really important to them, understand what success is for them, for the project and what they expect as project success is super helpful. So I think back to a large organization that I was working in, and I was looking for some funding for a project. And I did a presentation to one of the senior VPs. And I could see as I was presenting all the benefits, he was fading away faster and faster. And so I just stopped talking and I asked him, what do you expect as an outcome from this project? And he named two things that were not even on my radar. I was just not even thinking of that. And when I was able to explain to him how we're going to meet those needs, I got the funding right away. In fact, a year later, when other budgets were being cut, my budget maintained intact because I was able to fully understand what my leader needed in order to feel comfortable, confident, trust me, trust the project, trust the team to deliver impact. And so I find that the deeper clarity method is really useful, not just in project success, but as we are navigating our careers and also our lives too. Sometimes we'll do some prototyping and testing in our certification program, which is a 5-day program around different prototypes for our lives, thinking through what could the next 5 years look like, depending on the different parts of our life that we want to bring out. And so I feel like this methodology changes how people look at the world in their personal and in their work environment. So yeah, I'm super happy to chat more with those that are interested. Any other questions in the chat?
Thank you so much, Nilufer, for being with us today. I don't think we have any other question in the chat, but the presentation was really great. And again, to everyone, do not hesitate to reach out. We sent all the link in the chat. So please do not hesitate. And our next webinar for Women in Tech Canada will be at the end of August. So stay tuned for the next webinar as well. Thank you everyone to be here, and thank you again, Nilufer, for your amazing webinar today.
Thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye.